more of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. Yesterday we lost the legend, and Rollie Massimino was a tremendous basketball coach, but even a better person. I got a chance to interview him and meet him at the Palestra, and just such a nice, sweet guy. And also my father produced his radio show when he was at Villanova, and we all know the impact that he had in this area, winning the 1985 national championship with that underdog Villanova team, defeating big bad Georgetown, and made many people smile in 1985. And that Villanova family is very close, very tight, and we do send our condolences to all of Villanova Nation on the passing of a great man in Rollie Massimino yesterday at the age of 82. Someone that was very close to him is a former player, was on that 85 team, and that's Chuck Everson, who's kind enough to hop on board with us right now. Chuck, sorry for your loss. Thank you so much for joining us, considering the circumstances, and how are you?
I'm good, Zach. Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. So we know how much Coach did mean to you, but just explain a little bit further what Rollie Massimino meant to your life since you got to know him very well, playing for him, and then staying in contact with him after all these years.
Well, obviously he's there to be your coach, but he was so much more to that than that to us. I mean, the basketball part of the relationship was probably the least important part. I mean, he was a mentor, somebody that you can lean on, somebody you can talk to. You know, he changed guys' lives, Zach. I met him when I was in the 8th grade, going into 9th grade, and I was at his camp up in the Poconos. We went as a team. My high school team went. And I came back after watching this little fiery Italian guy give a speech to the camp. I came back and told my dad I was going to play for that guy. So my father said, well, you better get working because they're good. So I was fortunate enough to go through it. But he's been in my life since that time, and it's been a part of it. And, a lot of teams, you hear about it in sports all the time, right? He goes, oh, we're family. Teams talk about we're family. And, and it's easy to say that. And that word gets thrown around a lot. But when you played for Rollie Massimino, you were a family. You are a family. And we've been through just about everything you can go through together, highs and lows. We've had, the highest of highs, winning a national championship. We've had lows. We've had death on the team with Jake Nevin. We went through some controversies. We went through good times, bad times. We've gone through all this stuff, and we deal with it together, and we learn from it, and the life lessons that we've gotten from him made us the people that we are today, really.
My dad, knowing Rollie the way that he knew, always knew that Rollie always loved to have those big team dinners with the pasta being cooked. And even after all these years, you guys still had that, even up to, this past year. So that was always a special time, and I'm sure you guys will continue to have those pasta dinners in honor of Coach. But that Villanova team, you're right, the family atmosphere, that was something I led with when we found out that he passed away yesterday. You guys were just a really close group, and those pasta dinners, it's just amazing after all these years that you guys still met up at least once a year to have those types of dinners.
Yeah, it's that's something you do when it's in your Italian heritage like that. I mean, we what you're talking about is we would go down to Florida as a team. It started out with Brian Harrington and I going to visit Coach when he took over at then it was called Northwood, and now Kaiser University. And then one guy kept coming, then the next guy, and then this past February, we must have had, I think, 14 members of that championship team. Wow. Between players, coaches, and managers. And so guys were laid out, and we all stayed at his house. So it was like a big fraternity house. He'd be stepping over people. There'd be people on the couches, on blow-up beds, and usually the schedule of events when we'd all arrive like on Thursday or Friday morning, and then Friday night was always a big dinner that usually Mama Mass would cook for us. But this past year, she wasn't doing too well health-wise, and the girls, his two daughters, Leanne and Michelle, cooked a big, huge pasta dinner for us. We had about 21, 22 people around the table with everybody, and we had tables like from the front door all the way to the other end of the house, it seemed, and sat down and had a big Italian dinner. Saturdays, usually game day, so we would show up at the game and interact with the current Kaiser team and be in the locker room with them and be in the locker room for pregame and stuff to see him work with those kids. And then Sunday we usually do it around Super Bowl and have a Super Bowl party at the house, and where guys would just kick back and be caught up. And this year it was very special because like I said, we had I think everybody but two or three players that were able to get down there, and even Gary McLean was invited back to the house this year, which was really, really special. A coach and him patched things up. Gary was involved with some really positive things and helping to save some people off of drugs. He's a therapist now, and once Coach heard that he was doing all positive things, and he came to the game. Coach brought him over the house, and it was great. It was just like old times. We had everybody back, and everybody was together. So this last trip that we had in February was probably the best one we've had in the 12 years that we've been doing that.
And also, as we're talking to Chuck Everson right now, remembering the life of Rollie Massimino on the Zach Gelb show, the neat part about this, as we talk about how close the 85 team was, is the connection you guys had with the 2016 team. And I remember the night you guys won the national championship, and right away they cut to Coach Mass celebrating right behind the team's bench. That connection is also a pretty neat one as well.
Yeah, I mean, those kids, Jay Wright has done an awesome job of with those guys, and they reminded us of us in a lot of ways. They're really good people, really, really good kids. I mean, you wouldn't mind calling any one of them your son or your nephew or anything like that. They're really, really good kids, and they talk about playing for those who came before them, and they talk about the family stuff and the team stuff, and then so we interacted a lot. Like I was texting with Daniel Jeffru during that whole time, and some of the other guys, and Ryan and Chris and Josh, and it's great because when we go to practice, at some point in practice, they'll all come off the court wherever they get a chance and give you a high five or a hug and say, "Hey, thanks for coming to practice. Thanks for coming to watch us play." And they're thanking us for watching them play. So it's a pretty special thing, and that's how it is at Villanova. To be honest with you, I mean, Jay does an awesome job. He took all the things that Coach Mass taught him about family and about bringing everybody together, and Jay took that and put his own spin on it and kind of took it to another level with certain things. So it's really been a wonderful experience. We're glad to have Jay as the head of our basketball program, that's for sure.
When you have a coach-player relationship, it's always important that the coach protects his players, and sometimes you have to give a little tough love, but Coach did defend you on that night when you guys won in 85, and he was all fired up heading into the locker room. Reminisce a little bit when Reggie gave you a little bit of a shove.
Yeah, well, it was one of those things. I went in the game, late because Ed had picked up a second foul, and so I came in the game, and to our lucky for us, Georgetown decided to hold the ball, so let us hold the ball. So it was pretty good. So we worked it down for a last shot. We got a shot. I tipped it up. Prez put it in, and we're coming back on defense, and Wingate's coming with the ball, and I can see Reggie breaking for the basket, and I just said I had to put a block out on him because if he got there, I didn't want to catch the wrath of Coach Mass if Reggie tipped the ball and we're down one at halftime. So I put a good, hard, clean box out on him. He turned around and half pushed me, half slapped me in the face and kept running away. And Coach, there's a very famous scene from that game with Coach pumping his fist to lead the charge into the locker room, and he used that to rev everybody up. And I don't even think by the time we got a sip of water, we were ready to come back out on the floor and finish the game. I mean, he was all charged up about that and used that. And then we came out in the second half and shot 9 for 10. So who knew that we were going to do that, right? It worked out really well.
I know you may have to adjust what he actually said because we're on the radio right now, and we got to be careful of the FCC. But what did he say to you guys in halftime during that night?
Well, he was incensed that they would try to punk us out by nobody's going to disrespect us, nobody's going to disrespect Chuck. He's one of us, and we're not going to let him do that to us. What kind of crap is that? And everybody was jacked up, and we were ready to go back out. But the thing that people don't know is our bench was behind our locker room was behind the Georgetown bench, and the Georgetown locker room was behind our bench. So we had to pass them in the back in the hallway. And those guys were all snickering and laughing. And, they thought, this is easy. We got this. And, they didn't have it, obviously, at the end of the day. But, in the years after that, I've run into Reggie several times. And he's a heck of a nice guy. And we talk quite a bit, actually. And, the first time I ran into him was at the All-Star game in Philadelphia with Harold Presley back in 2002. And we literally bumped into each other. And I spun him around, and I put my hands up. I said, I'm ready now. So he started laughing and gave me a big hug. And I made Prez take a picture of us shaking hands. So I have that in my office at my house.
That's awesome. We're talking to Chuck Everson right now, talking about the great life of Rollie Massimino. You take a look back at that 85 team. You had that blowout loss to Pitt. You guys just got by Dayton, the pasta speech up against UNC, and then the upset up against Georgetown. After all these years, give me like a memory or two about that crazy and also exciting season.
Well, I mean, the Pittsburgh game really stands out because we got our doors blown off. We went up to Pittsburgh, and I think it was after that point that Gary, Dwayne, and Ed finally got serious about being leaders. I think they realized when we lost by 30 plus, whatever it was, to Pittsburgh, I think they realized that, we better get serious because our careers are going to come to an end here very shortly. So practices changed. They got a little more intense. There was a little more, us against them type of thing. And I think that's where there was a dynamic change in how we carried ourselves and how everything happened from that point on. So I think that was really the turning point of the whole thing.
At the halftime of the UNC game, when he's talking about pasta, what's going through your mind when a coach is trying to get you guys to win and he starts bringing up pasta with white clam sauce?
Yeah, well, he turned the chair backwards and sat down and said, "Hey, if I knew it was going to come to this, where I'd rather be? I'd rather be eating a big bowl of pasta with clam sauce and a lot of cheese on it," he said. and everybody was like, what the heck? What does that have to do with basketball? And then you come to realize that he was like, just relax and go out and play. Just go have fun. But it's really not that big a deal. It's just a game. Just go out and have fun. And once he said it was okay to have fun, everybody's eyes exploded and got biggest frying pans, and we went out and had a great second half led by Jensen at that point. Jensen really stepped up to the forefront. By the second half that he had, that game was unbelievable.
We all know that there's some people that get put on this earth to be a coach, and Rollie Massimino was that type of person to teach and really lead and turn boys into men, and that's what he did even up until his death, still coaching college basketball in his 80s. Why was it so important to him, and why did the game never get old that this guy's 80 years old, won a national championship, and he still wanted to coach?
Well, that's a great question, Zach. I mean, I think that, he got so much out of it himself by helping young guys get better in life, and I think what meant more to him is graduating his kids and seeing what kind of people they turned out to be and what did they do with their lives after basketball than anything that we did on the basketball court. And I think that's a unique perspective that you don't see in college athletics today. I know I coached kids for a while, and my kids played college sports, and the relationship that he has with not only me, and not only guys from the '85 team, but everybody that played for him, even the guys from Cleveland State and UNLV, and the guys at Northwood and now Kaiser. I mean, it's so unique and so different that he has that type of relationship with these people. That doesn't happen anymore. That's definitely an old school thing, and I don't know if you get a lot of that. I mean, they maybe have something like that with the guys that played for Dean Smith, but at North Carolina, but not too many other programs. I could tell you because I talked to a lot of people that we play against in the Big East from Syracuse and St. John's and some of the Georgetown guys, and they always ask me, "Man, how do you guys do that? What they can't believe the relationships that we've built based on that."
You talked about the first time you met Coach Mass at the camp up in the Poconos, and you knew you wanted to play for him. What specifically, at that young age, that's a tough decision to make, and you still had some few years to make it. Why did you why did he really just resonate with you so much right from the beginning?
Well, he was a no-nonsense kind of guy. I mean, he got up there and told it like it is. I believed what he was saying. I believed in what his values were, what his core values were when he started talking about family and everything else. And, he's got a way of invoking, loyalty out of his guys. And if you were on the Massimino team, then you were in the family. You were on the family and in the family, all the way. And it just struck me as being great. I wanted to be a part of it, and at a young age, even then, when just the way he spoke, and he just had me. It was after I couldn't stop listening to him. At the first time he spoke, and then that led to the relationship that we had for almost 40 years now.
If you had to pick one story, what was your favorite Rollie story?
It's funny because people are asking about it. There's a couple, but one I thought of today that I hadn't thought about in a while, and I had to laugh, was we're playing up in Providence. And I don't remember if it was my junior or senior year, but I think it might have been my senior year. And there was a guy sitting behind the bench that was giving me the business a little bit about not playing and kind of razzing me and stuff. And, I was jawing back at him, and it was getting to be, a problem because the guy kept going and going, and he was probably 2 or 3 rows behind me. So Coach walks down the end of the bench and says, what the heck's going on down here? What's all the racket down here? I said, this guy is breaking my chops. He goes, who? Which one? I said, that guy right there. He reaches in his pocket. This is in the middle of the game. He reaches in his pocket, and of course there's no cell phones back then, but he reaches in his pocket, he grabs a quarter, he flips him the quarter and says, call somebody who gives a damn. He gives me a high five, and he keeps coaching the game. It was like, I was like, hey, that was pretty cool. He defended me, high-fived me, and then went right back to coaching the game. So
that's amazing. Yeah. And there's going to be so many stories told for years and years and years about the great Rollie Massimino. Finally, Chuck, as we're talking to Chuck Everson, before we let you run, if you just had to describe him to someone that never got a chance to meet him, and you have to describe him to someone in 5 to 10 years, how do you describe Rollie Massimino?
I would say somebody who worked hard, who played hard, who enjoyed life to the fullest. He took advantage of every little bit that life gave him. He handled everything with style, grace, and class, whether it was adversity or triumph. And I think that and he was a tremendous family person and a guy that you can count on for just about anything. And he's a guy that changes people's lives for the better. And he made a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Chuck, thank you so much. Once again, my condolences to you and your family, all the Massimino family, and all of Villanova Nation. Thank you so much. Can't thank you enough. Appreciate it, Chuck.
Zach, thanks, man. It's good talking to you again. Take care.
Great to talk to you as well. Chuck Everson there on the Zach Gelb Show, 609-9199-D200, or you could tweet the show at Zach Gelb. Let's take a break. We'll be back right after this as we continue to remember the great life of the legendary basketball coach and Rollie Massimino, who unfortunately passed away yesterday at the age of 82. Rest in peace, Coach.